So let's drift away from Tata Group now and come into the
Perfect.
consulting space, right?
Sure.
In your consulting practice, right, you would be working probably with corporates as well as startups. Some are aiming for transformative growth. Some are trying to figure out the disruption piece that is happening around the world. So how do you guys guide these leaders to break free from the comfort zone, to thrive in their careers, lead a fulfilling life, at the same time grow the company? And one particular thing that I'd like to hear from you is, uh, do you find acceptance for this balanced approach that Tata Group normally carries, versus do you need to coach them that you need to create this kind of balance in your company to have that broad based long term growth?
Lots of questions in that one question. So let me start. So my consultant practice, it's quite weird because a lot of my conversation outside is only about the startup ecosystem, and that's because all my work on the consulting side is driven by very, very tough confidentiality agreements, right? It's a bit of a challenge when you're a person trying to start your company and grow your company, but at least they're very generous in the referrals that I have. So word of mouth has helped me continue to get a lot of decent listed, actually some of the best listed companies in India have for pockets come to me for help, right? And why do they come for that? Because they know that there is a certain way of looking at business that I bring to the table. So let's ask her, because she knows, she's done it. So she gets our challenge, and she comes from legacy, she comes from industrial, so she gets what it is to drive any challenge in our organization. So I get that, right? But then that's the inherent thing that starts with it. All starts with the mind, always, right? Now, whether it's the individual, so whether it's a founder or it's a person at their mid-career trying to take some decisions for the senior level, it always starts with your mind. Or whether there's an organization, where a promoter-led organization, which is listed, next generation has come in, or it's professionally run, but the promoter says that there is a bigger vision that I can achieve. Everywhere, somebody's mind has decided that the change has to happen. Right now, at an individual level, it's so much easier because it's yourself, right? You've got to shift that mindset. You've got to, and once you make a decision saying that I need to make a change, or I highlighted that I need to make a change, then it's really about just taking those steps. And I can always talk about what you can do as a person. Organization's a lot more complicated. Right? Yeah. Because it's somebody, either it is a board member, or it is a professional CEO, or it is the promoter. Somebody says, you know what, something's not working here, or it's working, but it's not going to get me to the next level if I keep doing what I'm doing right now. That's the start, right? But the journey of transformation is a lot more complicated, whether it's an individual or whether it's a corporate. And so which would you like me to talk about first?
I think let's go for corporate, because that is the complex piece of it. Individually, I feel that the founders or founders at startups specifically are mentally prepared that they need to demonstrate certain kind of behaviors. They need to create certain kind of ecosystem. But when the wish list is something else, the reality is different, right? So that is where all these interplays come.
So I would say let's start. Okay, so let's look at a corporate. Now, in a corporate, as I said, it starts with the person saying, yeah, I need to do that, right? But any change management needs to be done in a very structured manner, right? When there are multiple stakeholders involved. Now, a lot of times when this transformation happens, or I'm talking of business transformation, I'm not talking of digital, which has its own complexities because there's technology involved as well. And technology enabled requires a certain level of upskilling and new talent, and et cetera, et cetera. But even normal business transformations, where you said today I need to change, I need to build a cultural change in the way I'm doing business and be much more result oriented while balancing human emotions, et cetera, et cetera. All of these are things where you kind of have to start, first of all, by knowing where you want to go. And why I'm saying something so basic is because half the time when I talk to people, they don't know where they're going, right? They don't have an end state vision. And if you don't have an end state vision, or if you've articulated your end state vision only in number, you then have a very different trajectory versus saying an end state vision of what is a kind of company you want to be, right? So when we do transformations like a sales transformation, and by the way, those are something that I do a lot because it's my great joy. There it's easy. You turn around and say, I say easy because you turn around and say that, oh, this is X and I wish to do 2.5X. Or I want to do 3X. I want to do 5X, right? And then you build the building blocks to that and you get somewhere. But when it comes to the vision and purpose at a business transformation for the organization, there is a notion that exists, but not a very good clarity that exists. So first step I always say is at least decide where you want to go and don't articulate it so copying somebody else. That's the biggest problem. So I want to be the this of that. I want to be that. I want to be like that one, right? So I mean, very early on, I should say that, you might want what I have, but walking in my shoes is not for everyone else. And that's not to say that I'm doing something great. It's just who I am is different from you. So why do you want to walk in my shoes? So the journey starts with end state visioning, right? Where do I want to go? Now, when I say end state visioning, you don't have to say that this is it only, but you do have to know where you want to go directionally. Right? Yeah. And then it's about big milestones and small steps. Right? Big milestones are important because it's like a checkpoint. It's like doing your PDCA, right? Did I achieve this? I plan, I did, I checked, make some changes again, act again, tuck back again to planning, right? So the PDCA cycle has to keep moving. So you need to have big milestones to see whether you're on track, whether that vision makes sense, whether you're moving in the direction. But everything is small steps. Now, when I say small steps is where if you've got to do something for a large organization or lots of people with diverse skills, expectations, all of that, you've got to recruit people at every level of the organization to drive that change. So a lot of times what happens is people recruit at the top. And in that only all the mess starts happening because there are there's peer competition, there is peer expectation, there's peer frame of reference. Organizations, by virtue of being organizations, land up the strength, which is systems and processes, is also its weakness, right? So you have to, therefore, when you do this at various levels, and when you do it for the level at their impact level, and you have to keep increasing the numbers, right? So when you keep increasing the numbers, you actually see that impact overall. And you see that at various levels, rather than trying to say, okay, all these heads and this little cross-functional team has been formed, but that cross-functional team has to go to the last level. And then the shift on change happens. But if you have a cross-functional team going to the last level, but you haven't articulated what is that small step you want that person to take, you will land up somewhere else. It's Alice in Wonderland then. If you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there. So you've got to do that. That is where anchoring becomes a challenge. That's why most transformations fail, or they become tokenism, or you don't get the impact. Because that notion translating to a vision, translating to a strategy, translating to a plan with milestones, baby steps. Who will do it? At what level? What impact? Are you doing a PDCA? Are you moving there? And are you celebrating your wins?
Very important.
Are you sharing your wins? Because very often you celebrate the win, but you don't share the win, right? So if you're not doing all of that, you don't have that movement. That shift doesn't happen.